I hear this coach happen with coaches all the time. They're not having consistent income. They want more clients. And because it's not going the way they expect, they assume they have a leads problem. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you actually the three potential gaps you have in your business that aren't bringing in clients and how to close them. And be sure to stay around to the end because I'm going to give you a real live opportunity to get supported to close these gaps before June even ends. Welcome back to the Best Damn Coach podcast. I am so pumped you're here and ready to spend an episode that is going to really think about what I would say the bottleneck inside of your business. Right now, as you're listening to this, today's day one of our Fill Your Client Roster Challenge. And it's not too late to join us, by the way. You can pop on over. We're here May 12th, 13th, 14th. Head on over to amanda-walker.com/fill. The goal of these 3 days together, this challenge is I'm going to help you identify the pieces that may be keeping you stuck from getting clients. But here's where we're taking a slight shift inside of this episode is that not all the time is it that your clients, the volume of people you're getting into your ecosystem is your problem as to why they're not actually becoming clients. And this has never been more highlighted for me than looking at my own numbers inside of my business. And also during BDC Live, we dove deep into kind of these three areas or opportunities that I'm going to say are gaps or gap opportunities. And so your coaching business may not have a marketing problem. It might have a gap problem. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. The answer isn't always just get more visibility. You need more eyeballs on your business. Honestly, what I believe is there's people out there right now that potentially you have worked with, are working with, are watching you, and you haven't yet focused on the gap to understand where the problem actually lies. And so here's kind of where like my story is Justin's truck wasn't starting and we just spent a decent amount of money. We're going to be passing this off to our son next year when he drives. So we've been working really to take care of our cars so they can last the kids a while. And all of a sudden his starter was delayed. Like every time he went to start the car, there was like this weird delay. And so we were worried that he would drive it somewhere, obviously, and be unable to start the vehicle. And so the question is it the starter or is it something else? So we took it to the mechanic and they run a diagnostic, right? That what they're trying to do is find the gap. Is it the physical starter or is it the communication from the ignition to, let's say, the computer parts, or is it the computer parts to the engine, right? And once we identify what gap is actually the missing link, then we can do the work on the truck to make it make sense to spend the money. And so I think that for many of you, you'll say things like, my revenue is inconsistent. I get a whole bunch of clients and then it goes away. It's kind of like this up and down roller coaster that is exhausting, which I totally relate to. And maybe that was last month, maybe you're having a great month. I don't know what it is. Or maybe you're just trying to find that consistency and you're newer to the game. But I want to look at these three gaps. What we're going to do in this episode is identify the three gaps. And I want to offer you something today that might be a little uncomfortable is your visibility may not be broken. It's just that you're putting mm, water into a bucket to fill a hole somewhere else entirely. And today we're going to figure out exactly what that is. So if you're brand new to the show, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Doesn't matter if you're making $500 a month or honestly $50,000 a month and you want more, this episode is going to point to the direction of where I think that you can make the greatest shift. So get a pen. You're going to want to definitely take some notes on this. So I see this all the time, right? Coaches are struggling with that consistent income and where they automatically default to, honestly, 9 out of 10 times is I just need more leads in the ecosystem. And so they ramp up their content. They might even ramp up pitching to podcasts. They do things that I think are great things, to be honest. They show up everywhere and maybe get a little traction and maybe grow their audience, and the revenue doesn't really move. and they feel like exhausted. Like, why am I, I'm doing all the things. And then there's nothing really there. And what went wrong in this case could be potentially a few things, but often it's that their business was diagnosed incorrectly. They assumed the problem was the top of the ecosystem and not enough people seeing them when the actual problem was somewhere else. And here's where this matters so much is every gap in your ecosystem requires kind of a different solution. And so treating, let's say, a bottom of the ecosystem conversion problem is it's like trying to take a cold medicine to fix a broken arm, right? The problem doesn't match the solution. And so that's where we really want to look at. So I'm going to give you the lens today to troubleshoot your business. And then I'm going to give you a solution to come inside my world and help shoot this gap. So, gap number one is the leads gap. So, imagine this is the top of your ecosystem. This gap is real. So, for many of you, this is actually where your gap will be, but I want you to feel confident about knowing this. It's a straightforward of the three to identify. So, you have a leads gap if your people just genuinely aren't finding you. You would say that you see zero growth in your email list, in your social following, in your podcast listenings, in your conversations. You're not talking to people. You're posting into a feed and it's already the 100 people that you already know, and there's no growth happening. Your discovery calls aren't happening at all, or you're coming exclusively from people who have been in your orbit for a year, which actually isn't a bad thing, by the way. So hold on to that idea. So the way we can diagnose this is we can just say, like, in the last 30 days, how many new people entered my world for the first time? And what we want to say is new followers aren't already clients, right? So it's really important to understand. So we could look at new email subscribers, new social following, new people who showed up to a webinar potentially or a training. And so if the number is zero, then this often identifies the leads gap. Sip of coffee. And so what I would say is that visibility is the right medicine for this. And here's the nuance for all of us, and that is where I want you to be really honest with yourself is a lot of coaches think they have a leads gap because nobody's paying attention. So they are saying, like, because I don't have clients, it's leads. And that is not accurate, right? That's like saying, this is going to be a really weird, that's like, this is a basketball analogy. That's like saying all violations are fouls. And that's not true. Because there are other violations like a half court or a over and back or somebody blocking the person passing the ball in and it's over the line violation. Those aren't fouls, right? So we can't just make an assumption, a gross generalization. So this is the nuance that I want you to be really paying attention to is that just they assume that because there's no purchases that it's a leads issue. But when we actually look at the numbers, we can see that their reach is growing. They're adding new people into their orbit. Their list is growing. There's people, watching their stories, etc. Traffic is coming to the website. They just aren't converting into actual clients. And that is a completely different problem. So before you diagnose yourself with a leads gap, actually look at the numbers, not just the feeling, the suspicion you have. This is why I am constantly reiterating the notion that know your numbers, know your numbers, know your numbers. And literally, what you can do is see these three things like right next to each other, and it clearly shows you like where the opportunity is. And I'm going to share with you an example of this in real time for me. Okay, so gap number two is what I would call the conversions gap. This is the most common gap that I find once I dive into a coach's business. And it's the most, in my opinion, misdiagnosed. A conversions gap means people are finding you, even a small amount of people. And guess what? In the beginning, y'all, this is small for all of us. None of you started with a big social following or lots of people on your email list or a full roster. Every single one of us, including myself, started with zero in all of these places. So a conversions gap means people are finding you, they're lurking, right? They're those passionate voyeurs that I talk about so much. They might even be in your audience for months, but they're not becoming paying clients yet. They are listening. They are consuming everything that you put out or a lot of what they put out, and they are not buying yet. And so the question I am asking is, but why? Right? So this is the exact same question I want you to offer. And here's what kind of pisses me off about the coaching industry is so many coaches get bait and switched they think they have a leads issue. So they do more content. They try all these algorithms. They do all these things that are focused on client leads and also not paying attention to what's happening underneath it. And so the question you can ask yourself is, do I have people that have been in following me for 3, 6, 12 months or whatever and never invested in anything? And if your honest answer is yes, which I think we all could say yes to, there are a lot of them, then this is a conversions gap. And so here's where this gets really interesting. The conversions gap usually come from, in my opinions, two places. The first is an offer problem. You may not have a clear, accessible way for someone to take a first step with you if the only thing you're offering is a super high ticket container. And a lot of warm people are going to stay warm forever because that leap is just so huge. This is why, with 100% certainty, you should come and build this middle offer, this gap offer, this bridge offer with me. And as the time of this recording, starting this Thursday, the 14th, I'm actually going to be opening the doors to the first live cohort ever of the small bite offer. It's a 6-week experience with me where I'm going to help you build this bridge offer so that this people that are warm but haven't invested because they're like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go to this big 3-month, 6-month coaching container, that you build something that shoots that gap so that you can come in and warm them up. So by the way, if you want to know more about that, it is at amanda-walker.com/small bite. We kick off the first Thursday in June, by the way, and we go 6 weeks. So imagine, like, before summer's even over, you're going to have this way to market yourself to shoot this gap that I'm talking about very clearly here. So I don't want those people to stay warm forever. This isn't for me like a nice to have opportunity in business. This is a must have. This is a literal solution to this conversion gap that I think you need in your business. And you need to wait to do it in a way that makes sense, which leads me to the next conversion gap. Is the second place conversion gaps show up is because you're not speaking to your people in a way that they actually understand it. The person is in your audience, but something about the way you're talking about what you do isn't making them feel like it's specifically for them. This is also what we do in the small bite offer experience. Is many of you are talking too coachy, or you're saying that they need things that they don't actually realize they need because they're in their problem every single day. So if you're touting how breath work is awesome, but they're so freaking stressed every day, they don't make the connection that breath work could be a modality for the solution. And many of you are guilty of this specific thing. I want to help you fix this and figure out how to communicate this in such a way, which is honestly step one of the small bite offer in general. Is you have to be able to identify what your signature coaching, what the problem is, your signature coaching package is solving, and also what this middle offer should sound like. And often when you're talking about it, what you guys are guilty of is you're talking about the plane ride, all the stuff they get, 12 sessions, 3 sessions, Voxer access, all this stuff that they don't even care about. They just want to know, hey, is this the solution to the problem that I am experiencing on the day to day? And so these are very different things to fix. I mean, in this bucket, I would also say a possible third conversion issue is there's just not enough trust built. So they're consuming your content, but you don't have a way like a lead magnet or a webinar or training or something for them to come into and learn from you. You should go back and listen to the last episode. It's the final part of our 3-part series where I talk about this 3-part model in your coaching business. And specifically, I'm referencing step one. So go back to the last episode and definitely check it out, because this is also this conversion, this middle conversion piece where just so many coaches glaze over and they just think I should be able to talk about my offer and somebody purchases. In fact, I had a client new to me and she said, hey, Amanda, I thought this was going to be so much easier. People make it seem like I can just show up and talk about my coaching on a couple stories and post a few times and boom, clients come in. And the actual answer to that is it's not true. It's that we have to build. Yes, there are exceptions to that rule, especially if we've been doing a really good job of building trust with our audience, but there's going to be more that you need to do to help them feel safe, secure, trust, and to build your authority for what you do. Think about how you invest. Think about the money you want to spend and what it takes for you to say yes. And being here as a listener, right? This is why My podcast for me is so valuable because it builds that trust and authority. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I do this all the time. I'm with coaches all the time doing this. And it's super important that you build that same authority with your people too. So that was gap number 2. Gap number 3 is one that is super overlooked, and I'm going to call this the renewals gap. This happens to be an area in our company where we thrive, and I love it so much because what it means is that I am not so stressed out about conversion or gaps 1 and 2 often. Yes, I want more leads, 100%. And also, we have an two statistics that I want to share with you because we do this well is that we have an 88% renewal rate inside the Best Damn Coach. So from year 1 to year 2, that means 88% of the girls that come into the community stay. I am so proud of that because what it says is, A, we invite them to renew. We don't make assumptions that they're done. And something that I always say about the BDC is like, you won't run out of room to grow because I know that I'm stretching the girls no matter if they're 6 months in or a year and a half in, is I want them to have a place that they can come back to. And we have girls in there for 3 years. The other statistic that we love is that 82% of our people that buy some sort of coaching service buy another. So if they buy the coaching session blueprint for $37, 82% of people will then lead into the Framework Builder Lab, the Small Bite Offer, or the Premium Client Activator, or obviously go even higher ticket. I want that kind of number in your business as well. So this is the gap that most nobody talks about. And I think it's the most expensive gap because the warmest clients are the ones that you are already serving. And I'm going to assume that you're brilliant and awesome and getting them results because the money that lives in this existing client base is honestly the easiest conversion if you're really doing it well. A renewal gap, in my opinion, means that clients are finishing their time with you and just leaving. And it may not be that they're not even unhappy. It may be that it was good. It got decent results. But what we want them to know is that, hey, there is more space. Let's say they come in and they have a 20-pound weight loss goal and they nail it. I know what then you might be able to do is shift into a body comp goal, a quality of food goal, a lifting weights goal. So there are ways to transition the coaching because once they achieve one goal, guess what? There is something else that they likely desire. And so if they're leaving you not necessarily unhappy, but not referring people, not renewing, they're just gone, and you're back to filling the single spot over and over from scratch every single time, it means that your business never really compounds. So every month is a reset. You don't have this like recurring revenue from people that continually stay inside your orbit. So my diagnostic question for this is, what percentage of your clients are coming back for more or even are referring someone to some sort of coaching service that you offer within the first 6 months or a year to working with you? And if you don't know that number, that's step 1. You should know that number. And if that number is low or, you've just honestly never thought about it, then this is your opportunity. And honestly, this is where I would start. And no need to like panic or go into oh no, I've never been doing this. But I want to separate two things. Sometimes renewals gap is a results problem. Clients didn't get what they came for, and so they have no reason to stay or send people your way. And that's a coaching quality conversation, and it's important to be really honest about what's happening. This is why I'm so geeky about having frameworks and having measurable milestones. So you just enter into the coaching relationship so certain and also open to transforming that. And this is why we spend time on this call and inside the BDC talking about coaching mastery and identifying and understanding behavior so that we aren't afraid to call out the things that are holding them back from getting the results that they signed up for. So we have to take full ownership of that. So that's one part of that. But more often, honestly, the results gap isn't a renewal. It's just that the clients got super great value. They genuinely benefited from working with you, but it's that you never really offered a next clear step. So you're leaving money on the table. You delivered, they graduated, you hugged it out. You're like, you're amazing, I'm amazing, great. But you never really said, hey, let's keep doing this thing together. And so there's some great episodes. We'll put them in the show notes. But I always like to say the renewal starts on session 1. You open the door that this is our first time working together under this container. And guess what? You still have more space. There are things that you and I can work on together after this, original container. And so I want to make sure that you're just open to even thinking about this. And so we'll drop the show notes, a link to the show notes previous episode too of how do we enter into this conversation. I'm helping clients with this in the BDC all the time because sometimes it feels a little weird and quirky and chunky and choppy, and you're not really sure how to move into that conversation. And the fix here is not complicated, right? We just open the conversation and then we also say, hey, if this is it, then like send more people my way. I like to say my clients should go out after every touch point with me, whether it's a $97 program or the BDC that's in the thousands, and say, like, they should be a billboard for my work. Every time they come in with me, they will say, Amanda over delivered. And that's what I know I want to do so that I am top of mind. And so the next right step for someone who's completed your signature offer, like where do they belong? What should be next? Is it a maintenance coaching? Is it an alumni experience? Or even just some sort of relationship that's a referral base so that you can continually have that like warm referral base that's coming in, so that if a friend or colleague or something is looking for what you do, then you are just the obvious next step. So your current clients and your past clients are your warmest leads. They already trusted you. They already know you deliver. And so ignoring them to chase cold traffic, I would argue is honestly potentially the single most expensive mistake you could be making. So I gave you kind of these three gaps, and I gave you also an auditing question for each gap. I really want you to hit pause and go through and actually take these audits in each step and answer these questions like on paper with your hands and know your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, that's okay. That's why you should come in. We look at this consistently inside the BDC. And when most coaches do this, honestly, what they find out is their primary gap and what work they really need to do. So this again stops wasting time on stuff that you're telling yourself a story around, and instead it gives you truth. And because there's truth, your business doesn't necessarily always have a marketing problem, and they everything all the gaps are fixable. That's the beautiful thing. And if you're listening to this and you were like, yes, that gap in the middle is my thing, which I believe is the case for many of you, you aren't sure how to take them from the people you're talking to and then move them into that higher ticket offer, then this is the work we're going to be doing live together in the Small Buy Offer Coaching Experience. This is a 6-week program. It's short, sweet, to the point. I'm going to help you know exactly how to bring people into your world with the right words that have the premium client you want to work with raising a hand. I'm going to help you build that middle of the ecosystem offer, that trust building front end offer, so they come experience your magic. It's going to be specific so that it solves a problem so that they come into your higher ticket coaching. So again, this is 6 weeks. We start the first week of June specifically. We kick off on June the 4th at 10 a.m. Arizona time. We go for 6 weeks. It is meant for you to have immediate wins and put into play. So before summer even ends, you are going to have a way to bring in those warm people and convert them into higher ticket clients. So if you want to join us, head on over to amanda-walker.com/small bite. You're going to hear me talk about it for a couple more weeks on the podcast because I do not want you to miss out on this offer. It is a live cohort, which means I am teaching in real time. I am answering your questions in real time. I am holding space for the accountability so you actually get this work done so that you can put it into your business immediately. So I cannot wait to see you live in the cohort. And until then, go coach 'em up.